Hi, I'm Joel Hines, and today I'm joined by Democratic candidate Logan Forsythe. We're here today in Grain Line Station in Lexington, Kentucky. To get started, you're currently running for the Democratic Senate seat.
That's correct. Yeah, the U.S. Senate seat.
Got it. Um, would you mind telling us more about yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Logan Forsythe, as you said. I live in Lexington right now, so I do appreciate you guys coming up here to talk to me. But I grew up in rural Western Kentucky in Lyon County. I was raised in poverty, raised by a single mother. I'm the youngest of four. I grew up on all of the safety net programs that are under attack right now. So we were on Medicaid from the time I was little. We received food stamps. Now we call it SNAP. But back when I was a kid, they literally mailed you real stamps in the mail that you would lick, put on a card, and go to the Piggly Wiggly with. Um, Throughout the use of those safety net programs, the encouragement of my mother, the hard work of her, and my hard work and a whole lot of luck, I was able to overcome those circumstances. So right now, I'm a workers' rights and a civil rights attorney here in Kentucky. And before this, I was a special agent in the United States Secret Service.
Um, if you don't mind me asking, what are some things you see ongoing in your community or things happening?
Yeah, a million things that are happening. So I'm not a politician. With my job in the Secret Service, I was around politicians of both parties, and I don't like politicians. So this is a very odd thing that I'm doing. But this second Trump administration term, it's really brought out the worst of him, which I thought would be hard to do, but also the worst of so many people. So all last year, starting with the immigration crisis, the complete disregard and violation of so many people, whether they're here lawfully or not. You still have constitutional rights, and that was being disregarded at record rates. I was seeing our country move into this crazy image that it should never be, and it's something that we are all better than, and we should want more than that. And then you add on the budget bill that Congress passed this past year, drafted by the Republicans. One of the guys running for this Senate seat, he's my current representative, Andy Barr, and he brags about co-drafting the budget bill and pushing it through, and that's taking millions of people across America and Kentucky off of Medicare, Medicaid, off of SNAP, and that's just not the right thing to do. People are hungry, people are hurting, people do not have access to the basic necessities and needs that you have to live. And instead of funding those programs more, instead of expanding it to help the most vulnerable, we have a government, an administration, and a whole party on that side that's okay with, trying to dismantle them completely. And I got lucky. I got so lucky that I'm no longer in poverty, that I have a good job. My wife's a school teacher. She has a good job too. My kids have never been hungry like I was. I was able to change my circumstances, but that doesn't mean I'm able to forget how hard it was. And I'm not able to turn my back on the people that I grew up with who are still living like that, and new families who have come after me who are still facing these same uncertainties that I had. And if our current president and the people that we currently have in DC won't stand up for them and fight for them, then I guess I will.
Um, moving on to congressional integrity. A big thing with many other campaigns at this moment is enacting term limits. What are your views on it? Are you for it or against it? And if so, how long do you think would be good enough time in terms of how long one should serve?
Yeah. Well, I am very much for term limits. I am not only for term limits for elected officials. I actually think all appointed officials should be, subject to term limits as well. So that's our federal judges all the way to the Supreme Court. Lifetime appointments are an insane concept in today's age and time. People are living way too long, past being able to even physically do the job, and we can't let that happen. In terms of how long is a good time, one term for a senator is 6 years, so maybe 2 or 3 terms max. And for House of Reps, they have a 2-year term, so anywhere between 5 to 10 terms, which is still a long time. We're looking at 10 to 20 years there for both. And Supreme Court justices, I think that they should be serving or all judges on the federal level. I think that should be a 6-year appointment, but I think that they should be able to be reappointed so long as they go through the confirmation process as well. So they could, in theory, still serve for as long as the president and Congress is willing to appoint those judges. I just think that they should have the same amount of time as a senator.
So currently in the economy, one of the biggest concerns is a big focal point in your campaign, because according to AAA, in the past month, gas has already shot up over $1, another dollar on the gallon, and within the past year, the prices of groceries, store food, and whatnot have risen to 2.1%. What are your thoughts on making that a little more, not necessarily affordable, but manageable uh, for your families?
Yeah. Well, we have to look at the underlying issues for all of this. The gas prices are rising steadily right now because we've entered into an unlawful war in Iran. The president did this on his own accord, did not go to Congress as the Constitution requires. And as a result, every person, not only in America, but in the world, is paying a lot more in gas prices because we have a guy who leads with emotions and not intelligence. So, first and foremost, you don't start a war in the Middle East, you're not going to have as high gas prices as we have right now. In terms of everything else, there's going to be inflation. We know that. But before COVID, year after year, a bad year for inflation would be 2% for groceries and regular retail items. Since 2020, when COVID started, to today, we should have approximately a 12% increase in prices from that time to now. If normal inflation at the worst typical rates is what happened. Instead, everything is over 30% higher than it was just 6 years ago. And there's many factors with that. When COVID first happened, there were supply chain issues. It was a global pandemic that disrupted every industry. So it was reasonable that prices were going to increase in the short term. We've overcome those. We have fixed most of those issues, and prices are still increasing at a rapidly high rate, much higher than they should. And there's a lot of stuff that plays into that. The tariffs that Trump's administration has single-handedly placed on the whole rest of the world, that obviously plays an impact in that. We have to roll those back. The fact that wages are not increasing at the same rate as inflation is just making every increase of every item feel a whole lot more burdensome and harder to do than typically would if wages increase at the same rate of inflation. So we have to address that. But also, since COVID started, look at the reports. Most of these companies, the big grocery stores, the retail giants like Walmart, look at Amazon, their prices have increased at record rates in tangent with their profits increasing at record rates. So there's price gouging happening, and we are doing nothing about that because almost everybody in Congress, even from Kentucky, they're millionaires, they're billionaires now. They have a stake in these companies doing well because they're allowed to buy and sell stocks. We have to do away with that because if you allow people to make the rules, they're going to make the rules that benefit them. And if we only put people in power that make the rules that are wealthy people, then all of our rules, our reality is only going to benefit those kind of people. So you and I, everyone else in Kentucky, the average person, we pay more so that they can make more.
Moving on to healthcare, first and foremost, a lot of people are concerned about high healthcare costs. If given the seat and elected into the seat, what would you do to make it either A, cheaper, or just a little more affordable in a sense for the average family?
Yeah. So this is, I think, what distinguishes me and many other people running, even on the Democratic side for this seat. My stance is on healthcare, on wages, on everything. I have my ultimate goal I want to work towards, but I understand that wishful thinking isn't enough to get something done. So I'm a Medicare for all kind of person. I think ultimately that system is going to save the average American money. It's going to make pricing fair in terms of when you go to the doctor, when you get a prescription, when you have a procedure done. It's going to level the playing field for everybody, and doctors and hospitals are still going to be able to make money. It's just going to take away the insurance companies that are causing a lot of our pricing confusion and crazy rises in healthcare costs to occur. So I want Medicare for all, but I understand even if we flip a ton of seats in the House, a ton of the Senate, the first 2 years for any senator, whether it's from Kentucky or anyone else that gets elected, we still have a Trump White House. Even if Trump, for some reason, is not the president for the next 2 years, someone in his administration is still going to be there. So if we push forth, which I will try on day one, sign on to Medicare for All bill, even if it passes, it's going to likely be vetoed, and then we might not have enough to overcome that veto. So first and foremost, I'll push for the Medicare for All, but I'm also going to do other things to alleviate the rising cost of healthcare. We have to roll back the ACA subsidy cuts that this Congress has done. We have to roll back the cuts to Medicare and Medicaid so that more people can actually gain access to those programs instead of lose it. I argue that we do a public option on day one, which essentially allows anybody to choose to go onto Medicare, regardless of your employment status, your health status, or your age. You can choose to pay into that system and be on it, or you can choose to have private insurance. So it's a great compromise between the two parties. And also, lastly, this is going to be the biggest cost-saving measure for everybody. We have to use the current Medicare and Medicaid tables and standardize the costs of all treatments, procedures, examinations, medications across the board. Even if we have a public option, private insurance will still exist, and we can't allow them to dictate, what gets paid for each thing. The government has to be more involved, or else we're going to continue to have this terrible system that literally works for nobody.
Also, there are several people concerned about IVF or, just the reproductive assistance, as well as people concerned about being able to safely get an abortion within Kentucky, seeing as at the moment they're not able to do so. What are your thoughts on those procedures and whatnot?
Yeah, it's healthcare, so it should be covered. It's there's no question. What I tell everybody is, the day that Viagra is not covered under insurance, and then the day that the same senators and congressmen are arguing in our Capitol that Viagra goes against God's will and it's amoral, then maybe I'll take their arguments seriously. But no, they use healthcare, they use this stuff to restrict women's rights, and it's pathetic. And I'm not going to play that game, and I will stand up for everyone's rights to free, unfettered access and access to healthcare, because it's just the right thing to do.
As we speak today, multiple Kentuckians, Americans, people in general, are out protesting on No King's Day. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm a little sunburned because I was out there, and I'm very pale. So I went to two today. I was in Moorhead this morning, and I finished here in Lexington, where I live. I think it's great. I think it shows promise. It gives me hope for the future. I addressed the group in Moorhead, and what I reminded them was Trump and his administration, his first term and especially the second term, his goal is to use his actions and his words to divide us, to cause division, to make it harder for us to join together. But days like today show that that's not happening, that we aren't divided. We're more united now than ever. That's why special elections that have been happening throughout this year have been going Democrat, even in areas that haven't gone for a Democratic candidate in decades. And I think that his hateful rhetoric, the vile crap that he spews, I think it's finally backfiring. And these protests and people exercising their rights, they're demonstrating that, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
As you know, there's currently conflict going on between Israel and Palestine. Do you support the idea of sending money and other forms of support to Israel?
Absolutely not. No, I won't even have a meeting with AIPAC. They contacted me when I first announced. I get that they're allies, but why are they allies at this point? If your ally commits genocide against a group of people, they shouldn't be our allies. I do not support that at all. I'm not going to I will never vote in favor of sending them more money or military aid, whether that's, soldiers, which heaven forbid that they get to that point, or just weapon systems, because you can't trust them just to use them for defensive measures. They've shown us time and time again that they will take our resources and kill children and women And even men, I don't care if they're fighting age men, it doesn't matter. They're killing innocent people, and they have no regard for what they're doing. They don't care, and I don't support them financially, and I don't even want them to be an ally of ours.
Following that, with headlines of ongoing war/military operations over in Iran, what are your thoughts on that as like a former Secret Service agent?
Yeah, well, I mean, our president is out of control right now. He declared a war. He started a war, and he did so actually by first bombing a school filled with a bunch of young girls in Iran. That's how we started this war. And I believe that all acts of war should go through Congress and get approval. There's no way, even with the Republicans having numbers in both, I don't think that they would have approved it. He knows that. That's why he's doing it this way. I think he's out of control. This is one of many impeachable offenses that he's done. And I mean, yeah, Iran could have had a terrible leader that was killing people and everything, hurting them, but the same party that has said for years we should not be the world police has taken it upon themselves to police these countries that we have no business being in. And it's just a nightmare, and it's so terrible, and my heart goes out to all the families over there who lost children, especially when we started that war, and who are continuing to suffer because we have a president who doesn't care about the laws.
All right, and then finally, anything you'd like to say to your fellow Kentuckians, a quote, slogan, words of advice, or maybe even where they can find you?
Yeah, I appreciate your support. Nothing is going to change if we don't send different people to DC. I'm not going to take corporate money tomorrow, just like I haven't today or yesterday. I will never, be beholden to special interests. My plans aren't just wishful thinking. I have my ultimate goals, but I have the building blocks to get there as well. My focus is on making your lives better, and all Kentuckians and all Americans' lives better. I appreciate the support that I already have. If you're new to this, you can find out more about me on loganforsythe.com or my socials. Reach out, talk to me. If you want to meet up, I meet people one-on-one. I'm crazy like that. But I'll give you the time because I'm asking for your support, and you deserve that.
With that being said, I do think that's the end of today's episode of Your Voice. Yet again, I'm Joel Hines, and this was Logan Forsythe. You can find us on our socials on Instagram and Facebook, or even check out our website, greenrivermedia.org. Yet again, thank you for joining. Have a great day.